What if I told you that 10 daily habits separate how an Amish woman and a Mennonite woman age, and that most of those habits have nothing to do with faith and everything to do with what each woman does from the moment she wakes up? Reason 1: they never stopped moving. Researchers who have studied Amish physical activity consistently find the same thing. Amish women accumulate steps and physical labor at levels most modern exercise programs cannot replicate. Studies using pedometers have recorded Amish women walking 14,000 to 18,000 steps per day, not on a treadmill, but simply moving through the work their daily life requires. Laundry done by hand. Gardens large enough to feed a family of 10 through winter. Wood stoves that require hauling and loading. Floors scrubbed without electric assistance. Bodies that have been in motion from before sunrise every day for decades age differently than bodies that have not. A progressive Mennonite woman with washing machines, electric appliances, and a car for every errand has had that physical demand quietly removed from her daily life, one convenience at a time. The Amish woman's routine is accidentally and completely one of the most effective anti-aging physical programs a human body can follow. Reason 2: no screen, no sitting. The average American spends over 7 hours a day looking at a screen. A progressive Mennonite woman with a smartphone, a computer, and a television is embedded in the same pattern, and the research on what prolonged sitting and screen exposure does to the body over decades is not encouraging. It accelerates cellular aging, disrupts sleep quality, increases cortisol, reduces physical activity, and contributes to the chronic low-grade inflammation that shows up in skin, joints, and energy levels as people move through their 40s and 50s. An Amish woman has none of this, not because she is disciplined about screen time, but because screens simply do not exist in her household. Her evenings, which most modern women spend looking at something that emits blue light, are spent in conversation, hand sewing, reading by lamplight, or simply resting. Her nervous system winds down at the end of each day in a way that a body receiving constant digital stimulation cannot. Over 40 years, that difference accumulates in the face and the body in ways that are visible without a study to explain them. Reason 3: food made by hand. An Amish woman does not eat from packages. The food on her table was grown in her garden, preserved in her cellar, milled from grain she sourced locally, and cooked from scratch 3 times a day for as long as she has been running a household. No seed oils, no artificial preservatives, no ingredient lists requiring a chemistry degree to decode. The bread she eats is made from flour, water, yeast, and salt. The vegetables she cooks came out of her own ground this season or out of a jar she sealed herself last fall. A progressive Mennonite woman with full access to modern grocery stores and processed convenience foods eats a diet that increasingly resembles the broader American pattern, with its ultra-processed ingredients, refined sugars, and food-like products engineered for shelf life rather than nutritional value. The difference in what each woman has put into her body over 50 years shows up in inflammation levels, skin quality, weight distribution, and energy in ways that no supplement or skincare routine can fully reverse. Food is the foundation of how a body ages, and an Amish woman's food is, by necessity and tradition, closer to what a human body was designed to run on. Reason 4: outside every day. An Amish woman is outside every single day of her life, in every season, regardless of weather. The garden requires her presence in spring, summer, and fall. The animals require her attention in winter. Laundry hung on the line in January requires hands that function in the cold. She is not outside for wellness or vitamin D or fresh air, though she gets all of these. She is outside because the work is outside, and the work cannot be delayed until the weather is comfortable. Research consistently connects regular outdoor time to reduced cortisol, better mood regulation, improved sleep, lower blood pressure, and slower cellular aging. Sunlight exposure supports vitamin D production that most modern indoor populations are chronically deficient in. A progressive Mennonite woman who drives to errands, works in an office, or inside her home, and spends most of her day in a climate-controlled environment is receiving a fraction of the outdoor exposure her Amish counterpart accumulates without effort or intention. What looks like simply going outside to feed the chickens is, biologically, something considerably more valuable than that. Reason 5. No vanity pressure. This one is harder to measure, but no less real. A progressive Mennonite woman, and certainly any woman embedded in modern culture, receives a continuous message from advertising, social media, and the women around her that her appearance requires management, correction, and improvement. Anti-aging creams, skincare routines with 12 steps, products for every perceived flaw. The psychological weight of this is not trivial. Research on body image and chronic stress consistently finds that women who are dissatisfied with their appearance carry a measurable stress load that contributes to the very aging they are trying to prevent. An Amish woman receives none of this messaging. Her community does not value her by how she looks. Her dress is standardized, her hair is covered. Her face goes unmade every day of her life, not because she has strong willpower, but because the system she lives inside has simply removed the entire category of concern. She does not look in the mirror and find problems to solve because the mirror was never part of her morning routine to begin with. The absence of vanity pressure is not just philosophical. It is a daily reduction in a specific kind of chronic low-grade stress that, over decades, has a measurable effect on how quickly a face and body show their age. Reason 6. Sleep follows the sun. An Amish household goes dark when the light goes. There is no Netflix keeping a woman up until 1 in the morning. No phone notifications pulling her back from the edge of sleep. No artificial light flooding her bedroom while her body tries to wind down. The absence of electricity means her circadian rhythm, the internal clock that governs when her body releases cortisol, when it produces melatonin, and when it performs the cellular repair that only happens in deep sleep, follows natural light with a consistency that most modern women's bodies have entirely lost. Sleep quality is one of the most significant predictors of how quickly a body ages. Chronic sleep disruption accelerates cellular damage, increases inflammation, reduces growth hormone production, and degrades skin repair processes that happen exclusively during deep sleep cycles. A progressive Mennonite woman with electricity, devices, and the full range of modern entertainment available to her is sleeping in an environment that actively interferes with the quality of rest her body needs. She may get 8 hours by the clock and still wake less restored than an Amish woman who went to bed when it got dark and woke when the animals needed attention, because the quality of those hours, undisturbed by artificial light and digital stimulation, is simply different. Reason 7. No loneliness. Loneliness is now recognized by researchers as one of the most significant health risks an aging woman can face, comparable in its physical effects to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It raises cortisol, disrupts sleep, increases inflammation, accelerates cognitive decline, and shows up in the face and body in ways that no skincare product addresses because no skincare product can reach the biological mechanism behind it. An Amish woman is, structurally, almost incapable of the kind of chronic loneliness that affects so many modern women in their 50s and 60s. Her community is built around daily contact, shared work, mutual presence, and the expectation that no one faces anything alone. Women gather for quilting, for canning, for visiting, for church. Neighbors appear without being asked. The social infrastructure of an Amish district means that a woman who woke up profoundly isolated would have her door opened by someone who noticed before she had time to name what she was feeling. A progressive Mennonite woman with greater mobility, career, and independence often trades some of that community density for individual freedom. Both have value, but the biological cost of reduced daily community contact accumulates over decades in a way that shows up in health outcomes that go well beyond what most women attribute to social connection. Reason 8. No commute, no cortisol. Commuting is one of the most reliably documented sources of chronic stress in modern life. Research finds that people who commute more than 30 minutes each way show measurably higher cortisol levels, worse sleep quality, lower life satisfaction, and more physical health complaints than those who do not. Chronic elevated cortisol is one of the primary drivers of accelerated aging. It degrades collagen, disrupts hormonal balance, impairs immune function, and contributes to the kind of inflammation that shows up in skin, joints, and energy over time. An Amish woman has no commute. Her work is where she lives. The walk from her back door to the garden, from the kitchen to the barn, from her house to a neighbor's lane is the full extent of her daily travel under most circumstances. She does not sit in traffic. A progressive Mennonite woman who drives to work, drives children to school, and manages the logistical complexity of a modern family's transportation needs is absorbing a stress load that her Amish counterpart has never once had to carry. Over 20 or 30 years of daily commuting, the cortisol cost of that stress load leaves marks that are not easily explained away by genetics or luck. Reason 9. Purpose never retires. One of the least discussed but most significant factors in how women age is the presence or absence of daily purpose. The sense that what they do today is needed, that the work in front of them matters, and that removing them from it would leave a gap that cannot be easily filled. Research on aging consistently finds that people with strong daily purpose live longer, maintain cognitive sharpness further into old age, and report better physical health than those without it. An Amish woman never loses this. At 65, she is still the person who feeds the household, manages the garden, produces the quilts, and holds the social fabric of her family together. There is no retirement age at which her role in the community is declared complete. Her skills become more valuable with age, not less. Younger women look to her for guidance. Her kitchen remains the center of family life, and her daily contribution is as visible and necessary at 70 as it was at 30. A progressive Mennonite woman who has built an identity around a career, community service, or a role that has a natural ending point faces a transition in her later years that can quietly erode the sense of daily necessity that kept her going. The biology of purposelessness is real, and the Amish woman's built-in, never-ending sense of being needed is one of the most underrated reasons her body and mind hold together well into the years when many women begin to slow down noticeably. Reason 10. No processed anything. The modern food supply is built around products engineered to be difficult to stop eating, shelf-stable for months or years, and cheap enough to replace the time cost of cooking from scratch. Refined seed oils, high-fructose corn syrup, artificial flavoring, preservatives, and emulsifiers are the building blocks of the ultra-processed foods that make up a significant portion of the average modern diet, including the diet of a progressive Mennonite woman with access to every grocery store, fast food chain, and convenience product the outside world offers. The research on what ultra-processed food does to the body over decades is increasingly clear and consistently alarming. It drives chronic inflammation, accelerates cellular aging, disrupts gut health, contributes to insulin resistance, and degrades the skin in ways that show up visibly in the 40s and 50s. An Amish woman simply does not have access to most of it. Her sugar comes from honey or molasses used in quantities that recipes determine. Her fats come from lard she rendered herself and butter she may have churned. Her bread has 4 ingredients. Her vegetables were in the ground last week. This is not a diet she chose from a wellness book or a nutritionist's advice. It is the diet her community has eaten for 300 years before the food industry existed to offer an alternative. The irony is that what researchers now identify as optimal eating habits for longevity look almost exactly like what an Amish woman has been doing in her kitchen every single day of her adult life, without a single study to tell her it was the right approach. 10 habits, none of them chosen for health reasons, none of them practiced because a doctor recommended them, or a wellness influencer promoted them, or a study confirmed their benefits. They are simply the byproduct of a way of life that has remained largely unchanged for 3 centuries, practiced by women who were never trying to age well and who would not describe what they do as a health strategy in any sense that the modern world would recognize. What the comparison between Amish and Mennonite women reveals is not that one community is better than the other. Mennonite women have access to healthcare, education, professional opportunities, and freedoms that Amish